Good morning. We're going to wait a couple minutes as people start to file in, and then we'll get started. Alrighty. Well, as people start filtering in, they can jump in the queue. And if you don't know who I am, I'm Brad Martin, the ambassador for the DMV, part of the USA. That would be Maryland, Virginia, Washington, D.C. I have a signing service called Superlative Signings, which I'll put the link to our site in the chat shortly if you're not already signed up with us. But I would be happy to answer any questions you may have about your journey. As far as me personally, I started as a signing agent back in October of 2020. And my way I got most of my direct clients was just physically walking into title companies and introducing myself with a marketing basket, adding all their details into my CRM, following up with them on a weekly cadence and, until they tell me to stop following up with them, which almost never happens. So that's how I grew as a signing agent to six figures relatively quickly. And then I continued to do that in just a bigger radius until I got enough clients to start a signing service. And now more of my reps getting new clients has transitioned from walking in person because I can't walk in person 4 hours away, 6 hours away, 10 hours away. And it's transitioned more to digital marketing, paid ads, again, email follow-ups, be calling people on the phone that I've already connected with via email, or they've reached out to me in some way, either through LinkedIn on our or our website, whichever. So I have a few different ways that I prefer to get clients where I'm not strong, and I is networking. So I'm not really a really good resource there as far as in-person networking events. I've done them, but not to any extent, not to any great success. I have gotten clients that way, but it's very sporadic versus Laura Jones is a better resource for that. Calvin's probably a good resource for that. They have both done a lot of in-person stuff. So I can't really help you too much there, but anything where is in relation to email, using a CRM, using social media, as well as in-person targeting, follow-up, I can pretty much touch on all that relatively easily. So I'm happy to answer any questions you guys have in your journey, starting, growing, or scaling, whatever it may be. So with that being said, feel free to throw up your hand with the reaction button there, and we'll get started. Victoria, you are up.
Hi. So
Hi, good morning.
question, I'm in Illinois. Illinois is an attorney state, and I have to say that it's tough getting to attorneys in
Mhm.
Illinois and getting them to even consider you. What would you suggest on how to even approach the attorneys when it's time to do their real estate closings?
Yeah, so a couple things. One, and Maryland's an attorney state, but every attorney state is slightly different on how involved the attorney is in the transaction, what their role is.
Right.
But so I'm used to chatting with attorneys all the time. So, what has been I'll just say it this way. What has been the feedback you're typically getting when you're approaching attorneys? And we'll start there.
Most of them are saying, "Oh, I already have a notary. I already have a notary." And then I'm just like, I'm not here just to be a notary. I'm here to, assist with your real estate closings. I learned how to package the paperwork and submit everything, and also to even cut checks. and I can assist you because it's a little harder to get into the title companies versus working with the attorneys to me. So I wanted
Hmm.
to go after the attorneys. I could be wrong, but in my approach, but that's just how I've been able to, the two attorneys I've been able to talk to,
Okay.
that's what I've been doing. So,
How many title officers have you visited?
oh my God, half of Chicago for the South Side.
Just give me a ballpark: 10, 20, 30, 50.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 11.
Okay, that's good. Okay. And how many attorneys, roughly?
Two. I
Okay.
just started with the attorney, so two.
Okay. On the title side, on those roughly 11 visits, what is the typical feedback you hear when you go there?
Well, I did hear a couple of them say that they're revamping and they're because they're disappointed in the notaries that they have. And
Hmm.
I asked, what is the reason behind that? I said, it could be knowledge, it could be education, and I'm trying to, pretty much promote myself from there, saying I have the knowledge, I have the education, I know how to package, I know how to do this, and they're just like, just fill out the app and or fill out the paperwork online, and then they send you on your way.
Hmm.
And they, but they're most of them are basically saying that they're revamping their notaries now because they've been disappointed in the notaries.
Okay. All right. So a couple things. One, um, you're in a very large city, so you have a lot of targets, which is good.
Mm-hmm.
Two, just as an aside, just make sure you have a really good follow-up system for every one of those 13
Yes.
roughly leads.
Mm-hmm.
Three, you have just described two sets of leads. One are attorneys. Now, it's a very small sample. It's only two. But of the two, they have given you an answer I hear, a standard answer. Now, to avoid on the attorney side of what you talked about, I never get that response that they work with local people. And here's why: as an individual signing agent, because that objection is could be the standard objection for anyone, title, escrow, attorney, realtor, lender. They every single one you already have to assume that may come out of their mouth. So I always assume that. So I never let that come up because I always led with as a signing agent. One of the things I would lead with was after like I said, in person, I'm bringing in a basket. There's a intro there, but after that, it's um, I know you guys have really good local notaries that you currently work with, again, because they've been in business before I walk in the door. So I always lead with that. So they can't give me an objection I've already addressed. So I
Okay.
always lead with, I know you guys have, depending on who your audience is, now I say signing service, but I know you guys have a really good, great local team of notaries. And I would love to be a resource for you when those local folks are already double booked, on vacation, sick, something comes up last minute, and there's just no coverage. And who should I email my references and credentials to be that resource for you? And that opens the conversation up. So number one, I show deference and I compliment the existing notaries they already have. And it's not weird. I've already addressed it. So I don't ever get that objection. So you'll never get that objection again if you work your version of that language into your opening conversation. Two, I've complimented them about their choice of notaries, even if they suck. So they already like me because I'm showing that I also have a knowledge of the business. Three, I'm saying, who should I email my references and credentials to, which hopefully prompts them to give me an email or business card of someone that is the decision maker. Four, I'm happy to share my references because I work with other people in the industry and, you may know them already. So that starts the conversation up. And then, because I'm assuming they work with someone local and whether they're good or not. And I'll also assume that they're good. And then another follow-up question I would ask would be when I'm chatting with them is, what do you love about the current local notaries that you're working with? Like, what is it specifically that you really love about them? And they'll say, oh, I love that they pick up and drop off docs. Or they'll say, I love that they walk my signers through documents. Or, and listen to whatever it is they love. And remember, when you're selling the vacation a little bit later in the conversation, hit on those things because they're going to tell you what's most important to them. Okay. And then I say, awesome. And then, hypothetically, what could be improved at all with your local closers? What could be better with your local? Again, I always say hypothetically, or in a perfect world. use hypothetically in a perfect world, because it lowers their defense. And it's saying, I'm not saying that they suck. I'm saying, I'm sure they're great, but what would make it a 10 out of 10? What would a perfect, that's kind of I'm serving it up like, okay, like if you can improve anything, because no one's perfect, what would it be? And they'll tell you what is important to them. Yeah, well, I don't, it would be great if I wasn't, yeah, I didn't have to pay more if you're driving, an hour and a half away. I'm like, or it would be great if I could get documents back the same day, hand drop. Maybe they're using FedEx labels. Maybe they're too busy and they're overbooking themselves. They're local people. So whatever. So that's kind of the standard operating conversation I would always have. And I would always start with, besides my initial when I walk in the door thing. But after I've introduced myself there, I say, you know, um, I assume that they have great closers. I, get the email and references and credentials conversation going. And then I ask them immediately, what do you love? And what could be improved. And so I'm trying to hear what's important to them and what could be improved. And then right after that, I'm saying, great, that all sounds important. And, I also, whatever they like to do, and however, I'm very consistent with my pricing. So I don't charge my clients when it's 2 hours signing away or whatever the ranges they're talking about, or whatever it is. So I'm just trying to it's always about asking questions. When I started as a signing agent, my mistake, because I didn't have a background in sales, and most of us probably don't, is that we're saying too much. In the conversation, it really just needs to be questions and restatements.
Mhm.
And then that's pretty much it. um, that's it. And if you're saying anything else, you're kind of wasting your time, and you're not really gaining traction in the sale, in the relationship part. So just ask as many questions as possible. You're trying to glean as much information as humanly possible, because you're going to get the most in that conversation in person versus over the phone or by email following up later. You're trying to just gather as much detail. And as soon as I walked out of that office and the conversation was over, I would type all this stuff up in my CRM or Excel spreadsheet if you don't have a CRM, or right back a business card, whatever you got to do. That way you have it there, it's fresh. You just do a mind dump, and then that way when you follow up with them later that day or the next morning, you can again say the same thing. You can restate what they have said in their own words, and that also helps because it sounds like to them they are really being heard, especially when you restate in their words what they say, which is important. So hopefully that helps a little bit as far as that's concerned. As far as just a general question you had about approaching attorneys, do more of it, number one, uh, because two is just not a large enough sample. Neither
No,
is a,
I just
but
started that
if you
this
start
week. Yeah, I literally just started that this week. So,
right. So, and also when you get out of the meeting, I also would always, when I'm sitting in the car, I wrote all my notes down. Then I would also, two other questions I would be, what went great? And I would say, hey, I said exactly what I wanted to say. I was smiling the entire time. I asked some good questions. And then what could be improved? Oh, I forgot to ask
oh,
about this. Oh, I forgot to ask about that. So that also helps. So when I went to the next office and the next, 10-minute drive to the next place or 20, whatever, I was reiterating all the good stuff and remembering, oh, remember this time, ask about whatever I forgot to ask about. So that's part of it. So the numbers, but also just adjusting your conversation. So, and also when you lead with, I know you have great notaries and you're asking those questions, it shows that you're, more seasoned, more knowledgeable, and it gets you farther in the conversation quicker, because
mhm.
you only have so much time when you're with them. And that's also part of the thing I would lead with when I first walk into the office. I would bring in a marketing basket, give them just say, hey, I'm Brad. I'm just dropping off these treats for you and your team to help brighten up your day. Which they smile and say, great, that's awesome. They didn't know if I was a realtor or what, which is what they were assuming. Like, nope. And they would say, who are you? And I would say, I'm a local signing agent, or whatever the verbiage is for you. In Maryland, I would say I'm a local typic. In other states like Arizona, I would say I'm a local notary, whatever it is, whatever the phrase
Right.
is, exactly who you are. Um,
Mhm.
um, and I would love to email you my references and credentials to be a resource when your local team is already double booked, your local notaries that you already use are on vacation, whatever it is, so that I can be a great service to your team. Something like that. But yes, just adjust your approach as far as questions, uh,
Mhm.
and just ask more questions in general. That's for everybody on the call. Ask more questions, versus talking about your features. And then when you do chat, besides asking questions and restating what their concerns were, you're always saying it as the benefit to them. So it's always, why is this important to them? And then restate it as a benefit. So instead of you have a mobile office, it's I have a mobile office so I can print documents last minute on the fly, or whatever it is for your team. So there's zero delay. We don't have to
Right.
re-execute anything. Whatever it is, it's always how is it a benefit to them versus how
Mhm.
you're great. No one cares about that. It's always what's in it for me. So restate it as, how is this a benefit to me?
Okay.
The driving 2 hours part, it's a benefit to you because you don't have to use a FedEx label and you can fund the same day and record the same day because I'll be back in your office at 3 o'clock in the afternoon or whatever, however long it takes me to get there. Um, you know, so again, just some general things about marketing. So hopefully that helps answer some other questions people might have said.
It does. It does. I
um,
really appreciate that. I took some
yeah,
good notes.
yeah, my pleasure. Attorneys and just in general, attorneys, they're no different than the title office people. They're all busy. They're all doing the same thing. But
Hmm.
attorneys specifically are going to be generally higher net worth people, and they're not as concerned. I mean, they're going to be somewhat concerned with cost. However, they're more concerned with how much time can be saved, just in general. Just higher net worth people are more concerned about how you're saving them time because they value
Right.
that much more than money. Just as a general aside. So hopefully that helps some and give you some other
Oh no,
bullet.
that's it. That's it. Thank you so much.
Yeah, my pleasure. All right, next up, is it? Probably I'm pronouncing this wrong. Is it Nardia?
Yes, it is Nardia. How are you today, Brad?
Good. How you doing?
I apologize. Okay, let me see if Zoom is not
Yep,
very
I can see you now.
my video. There we go. Yeah. Okay. So, the question that I had is something you mentioned earlier. So I went
Mhm.
into, so I'm trying to blur my background. It's not letting me do that. Okay. I went into the title companies, like
Mhm.
5 different ones with a marketing basket.
Okay,
And I
good.
grabbed business cards on my way out as I spoke to them and had good conversations. And then I got discouraged when I went to my CRM because when you do a campaign and you're trying to send one email to multiple email addresses, it
Mhm.
warns you that, this is something that you should not do, or it's kind of illegal to send it if you don't have permission to send to emails. So I wanted to see if you ever saw that or run into that and how to get past that mental hump of you know, that message. I mean, they didn't personally, I grabbed the business card. They didn't really necessarily gave me permission to send them an email.
So you brought in marketing baskets. I'm assuming you brought in either one for multiple people like I do, or a bunch of smaller individual ones. So they are right.
Yes, I did. I had a
Okay.
nice little gift
Yeah.
bag with nice goodies inside.
So you're serving the office. So while the second you left, the rest of the office was chowing down on whatever you brought. So they, again, that's not weird. It's just that's you emailing everyone in the office saying, "Hey, I hope you guys enjoyed," which is my follow up. Marketing basket is a subject line, and I would say, uh, "Hey, it's Brad. I hope everyone enjoyed or I hope you, because they're individualized emails, if you're doing it with a CRM. I hope you enjoyed the treats I dropped off earlier. So if you got to talk with them, you're reiterating the conversation. If you didn't get to meet them yet, FYI, I am, and then that's when you let them know the value add to them. But I never was ever concerned about that. I mean, it's not number one. It's not illegal to send emails to people who don't to send cold emails. Okay, that is not illegal. So
Yeah.
whatever that pop-up message is, ignore that. That's totally out of fairyland, not
Okay.
illegal. Now, when you send emails, you always generally want to have an unsubscribe button option for them. Okay.
Okay.
So I would definitely make sure you're doing that so you're more compliant that way. But yeah, I wouldn't be concerned at all about that. It's just like when I walk up to a title office and it says no soliciting the door, I'm like, okay, whatever.
Okay.
I'm here to drop off some presents. I'm not soliciting anything. And I'm introducing myself. That's it.
Okay. Very good. And then, so my second question is, when you went every week, did you
Mhm.
bring a marketing basket every week to the same title office?
Yeah, so my approach was a marketing basket in person every single time, the first time, and my follow-up was always email every week and or
Okay.
social media. Um, so that was my follow-up. So always weekly follow up with email, and then I would always follow up on social because part of my process was when I got back in the car and I did my CRM notes, I would also go to Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, and follow their company and immediately like and comment on the most recent 3 posts on all platforms, whichever ones they were on. Some were on one, some were on multiple. And that way, it was another touch point. So they got to see me in person. They got to follow up email the same or next day. And I also connected with them on social and also interacted with their posts. So I've already got at least 3 touch points out of the gun in day one. So that's
That's
getting me farther along in the process. So that when I follow in 1 week, that's touch point 4. And if they post with any kind of regular frequency, most don't, but the better ones do. I'm also interacting there. So I'm just trying to get to touch point 5, 6, 7, 8 faster. So I'm more likely to convert them from prospect to sale or client.
awesome. I never thought about following them on social media. So that's a good tip. Thank you for that. I
Well,
think
yeah, happy to help. It's free. And also the ones that are better on social media that do more frequent posts, they're on there more regularly. So when you do that and you continue to interact with them, typically when they see 3 interactions on their posts on whichever platform is very unusual for title because they don't have many followers and there's not much interaction because their posts tend to not encourage a lot of engagement because they're just not really that exciting, which is fine. But when they get that many notifications, they're going to be very curious as to who is your profile, and then they're going to go see your profile. So that's
yeah.
really another touch point I didn't cover, but that also occurs just naturally because of curiosity. And then when they see your profile, they're going to consume whatever they can consume. And then obviously, if you yourself are posting on any kind of a regular frequent basis, and they enjoy the value of what you're posting because you're offering something of value, they'll follow you back, which is also another clue to you that it's now a even warmer process, or if they're even just liking your stuff. So again, it just helps you get further along in the funnel, so to speak.
Wonderful. And my last question. So when I did a Google search of title companies in my area, it pops up with like the bigger ones. So
Mm-hmm.
Stewart Title, Chicago Title, and I know that they have a harder process to get in. Any tips on finding the little boutique title companies?
Yeah. So as far as obviously whoever's going to rank highest Google initially will be typically your bigger companies with more reviews and more years in service. But yeah, I mean, I would literally, for me, I was just going with, and it depends where you're at in the country versus independent versus larger. That mix is going to be different where you're at. But as far as the independents, it's just continue to look on Google, whether you got to drive farther out or go on page 2, 3, or 4, or 5 of Google, whatever it is, and leave no stone unturned. That's part of it. And then the other part of it is I wouldn't be too concerned because even though Stewart, Chicago, Fidelity, First American are larger names, each of the offices uh, will have more, or some will have more, some will have less flexibility and authority to do what they want. And you can't assume that they have zero flexibility. That's a mistake. So you still want to go in there, still do your normal process and continue to follow up. And if someone likes what you're saying and they want to work with you, they will help make it happen. So again, it's just increasing the number of actions you can take and the wider your net can get. And so that includes the big ones too. But it may just be a function of you have to drive farther to find more boutique places out of a major city. It depends on the mix of where you are. For me, in Maryland, Virginia, it is almost exclusively small boutique places versus like if you're in Northern California, it's almost exclusively the opposite.
Right.
So it just kind of depends where you're at.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. That's great information.
Yeah, my pleasure. All right. Laramie, you're up next.
Alrighty. Thank you so much, Brad. The first question, especially of just kind of how you go about those conversations. I'm sort of in my learning to fly phase of like how to walk into title and then like
Mhm.
what to say basically. And so that was really, really helpful. I
Good.
guess the what I'm running into when I go into title is they ask for my pricing. And I think like not Brad, sorry, you're Brad. Mark kind of says just like, oh yeah, like whatever you normally pay notaries is great. I just want to be part of the team.
Mhm.
Sometimes that like generates some like, I don't know, think like a dog whenever it turns its head sideways. Like I feel like some escrow officers like don't know what to do with that. They're just kind
Mhm.
of like so what do you charge? Um, and so I just sort of said like, yeah, I just want to be part of the team, like sort of what Mark tells you to say. And so that's
Sure.
sort of what I'm running into is like, you either obviously have like a background in sales or you've like really dug into sales just for this business. But like the adage about like clarity is really, really good. I don't know. What just the your confusion like generates like nah for sales basically.
Yep.
So that's what I'm running into is pricing.
Okay. So yeah. So you always have to have two answers. You
Okay.
clearly have Mark's answer, which is fine. And if they're like, huh? And you say, well, for example, normally for a seller pre-sign, I invoice my clients 150. Is that in the range you're used to? And then just listen.
Did you just say like a set like
That's it. So you give Mark's standard, um, you know, yeah, I try to work with my clients to make sure that they're not paying, way out of what their budget is. What are you typically invoicing your local notaries for a seller pre-sign or for a buyer with a mortgage? And see what they say. So I
oh
get more specific
yeah okay
because
okay.
not every package is going to be paid the same. It almost never is. It's very rare when you find pricing one, like I have one client is pricing the same for everything, which is weird to me, but that's usually not the case in my anecdotal experience. So that's why I say the same thing Mark does. I just get much more granular and specific. So I just say, yeah, I want to I work with my clients and try to stay within their budget. What do you typically invoice your local notaries when it's a seller pre-sign out of office?
Gotcha.
What do you
Okay.
typically invoice when it's a buyer signing with a mortgage? What do you
Yeah.
typically invoice when it's a buyer seller, a roundtable closing? And
um
just kind of listen. And then if they're still like, well, it varies. What do you charge? Then you just say what you charge and just
okay.
reference start high.
And
So,
so
so if they say,
basically
seller, I'm like, well, back when I was a signing agent, I would say I would invoice 150 or 175 for a buyer, 200 for a buyer, about 250 for a buyer seller, like whatever. And if they say, cool, okay, that works. Or, oh, it's a little high. We normally charge whatever. Then you can say, okay, well, there's a couple ways you can go from there, but it depends. If you're got a ton of direct clients, then you can be more picky and pivot and be more selective. But if you're trying to get a direct client one or two or three, then you're going to be obviously, more flexible, of course. Why wouldn't you be?
gotcha. Okay. And just a quick side question to try to
Mhm.
learn the verbiage. You said a seller pre-sign. What does that pre-sign little verbiage mean?
Oh, it just means that instead of the seller signing on the day of closing, usually with the buyer, like things used to happen more frequently before COVID. Now, because of COVID, and we kind of developed hey, all the title company said, hey, as a convenience for your sellers, so they don't have to come in the office and catch COVID and die, you could do a seller pre-sign out of the office. We will send a mobile closer to you, or we'll meet them in the parking lot or wherever. And they can sign a couple days ahead of time, and you don't even have to be their listing agent, realtor. And they were like, "Oh, I get paid, not actually have to drive some more extra." Cool. So that's kind of been the norm now. So the realtors on the seller side, the listing agent, they'll tell their seller clients that no, you can sign 3 days ahead of time, in the Bahamas. Like where they'll tell them like whatever, and title company just has to make it happen. So a pre-sign just means that they're signing prior to the closing date. That's all that means. And you don't have to say seller pre-sign. You can say seller signing. You know.
Gotcha. Yeah, for sure. Okay, really appreciate that. My next question was, you said that title companies don't really have super engaging social media, and I just sort of like,
Not many.
as someone who wants to start. Sorry, go ahead.
Not many. I can think of on one hand of the hundreds I follow, on one hand the ones that are actually interesting to watch.
Oh yeah, like that's what I'm experiencing as I'm starting to follow them as well. And I just, wanting to start and in the beginning phases of starting my own social media as a notary, I just sort of feel that trap as well, where I'm like, what on earth am I gonna post that's interesting? And you just kind of mentioned posting stuff of value. Do you have any like suggestions or ideas, or what does your social media look like?
Yeah, so Mark has a lot of training on this for sure, but the high level points are going to be number one, you want to make sure that you figure out who your audience is and stay laser focused on that. So what typically happens is as you're desperate to figure out content. You start going broader, but not serving your specific audience niche. So granted, you'll talk about things that are more appealing to a wider subject, but the whole point of doing social media marketing is to be laser focused and be more attractive to the people that you're marketing to that are going to check your social media out anyway, whether you follow them or not. They're going to Google your name, your company, look up your name on social, and see what more information they can glean from you if they're interested. So you want them to go and find content that would resonate with them. So if your niche avatar person you're trying to serve on social is a title client, you only want to speak to their specific problems and how you solve those specific problems. And the more you can show that you have an extremely high knowledge of what their problems are, very like as detailed as humanly possible, and you're speaking to them specifically. So in social media, it's called call outs. So like if you're making ads or you're doing social posts, you want to call out your specific audience. So if you're targeting title companies, I in my social posts will say, you know, title processors, title companies specifically, or you can say attorneys specifically, or you can say escrow office, or whatever it is for your area. But I'm saying that at the very beginning, like that's like the first word out of my mouth. I'm not saying, hi, I'm Brad. Like, no kidding. You can see I'm Brad because you've already navigated to my profile. I don't need to reintroduce myself. Um, Sorry, I'm thinking of a rap lyric there. But anyway, so I just say, hey, title companies, isn't it frustrating when you have documents that are delayed because FedEx has a bad day? But when you work with me, that will never happen because I hand deliver docs to my clients, no matter how late, how far. And you kind of get what I mean. You come up with a list of every problem they could have. So, and they're generally very like, okay, documents are jacked up, documents are delayed, can't fund on time, can't record on time. The agents can't get paid, so they're bitching at me. I'm sorry, they are yelling at me. My sellers can't get paid, they're yelling at me. The buyers can't move in, they're yelling at me. Um, the lenders' documents are coming late. Trying to get them to the notary. Like, so think of all those things that can go wrong in their life. Make this long list of problems. Make videos how you're the solution to those problems. Come up with 30 to 60 days worth of content, and then all you do is just repost the same videos over and over again. If you're using a CRM like Mark's, where you can actually schedule the posts and have that inside of the CRM as well as another feature where you can be like, okay, this week I'm scheduling 3 posts on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. I've already done them 3 months ago. I'm just reposting them. Like it gets real automatic really quick. But the nice thing is every time someone new comes to your social media profile, they have no idea that you made that video 3 months ago. They just don't, because no one's going back 3 months, look 3 month old posts. Like, so again, it's a funnel, and the new people get top of the funnel. They hit your social media. It's all new to them. And the people that have seen your videos 3 months before and aren't working with you, sometimes you just need to be reminded. So your content just has to be really specific to your target audience, the problems they're going to have, and how you solve them, and just continue to stay narrow. Um, that's it as far as social media. That's the highlights. There's a lot of other granular stuff. I would encourage you to watch Mark's videos he has recorded in the course and or CNM, I think, especially like prior conferences. He obviously he's good at this, so he does usually every conference he'll do like an hour or 45 minutes on social media and how to get better at it.
Yeah, awesome. Okay. I think that was all I had for you, but I really, really appreciate it.
Yep, my pleasure. Happy to help. Cool. Who's next? If you haven't asked me a question yet, and you're not doing whatever numbers you want to do, is your wasted opportunity if you're not asking a question. That's all I'll say.
Brad, with your sign-in service, do you have business in the San Antonio, Texas area?
Yep, every state. Yeah,
Wonderful.
every state would
And
typically every month we typically would do closings in about 43 to 46 states.
would you be willing to put the name of your business in the
Oh, yeah,
your sign-in
got to do
service
that.
in the
Sorry.
chat? That way I
Yeah,
can
sorry
connect.
about that.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
yeah, my pleasure. Jessica, what's up?
Hi, Brad. How are you?
Good. You doing closings today?
Not today, no.
Good.
Um,
Take a weekend off.
yeah, I'm moving my daughter to college tomorrow, so we're getting ready for that, running errands.
Awesome.
Yeah. So one question that I have is, how do we find, who do I talk to about finding these recordings? Since I'm kind of new to this group, I can only see what was posted in May. Is that?
Yeah, that's accurate. So we as the ambassadors have asked Ashley at Loan Signing System to work on, which she said she's actively working on, getting the backlog of recordings from mid-May or whatever it is, end of May till now, posted in the group, in the community section. So I'm assuming you've already been there, which is like the URL is members.notarysuccesspath.com. And in that area, you should have a communities button, and that will take you into, there's one for CRM, one for LSS notary coaching, which is what we're going over. And then there's also like a side menu that says coaching replay. So that's where you want to be. So I'll shoot her another message about that. But between the conference ticket sales and the CRM, like they're putting a lot on their plate. So but they still need to serve these up because they're tremendously valuable for people that can't make this every week.
I have another question. So there's a objection that I'm running into when I go to companies, and it's the ones that say, oh, our underwriters require that we have bank serve do ours. And I think I've heard you say before that you're like, you don't have to use bank serve. So what should I mean, because I do have it on my calendar to try to sign up with them on September 1st on that small tiny window that they have.
Yeah.
But do you have any advice beyond that?
Excuse me. Yep. So trust me, when I talk to people that use BankServe, the common things I hear from title clients is that they are inconsistent. They charge more for scanbacks because they do. What else is it with BankServe? Communication's not great on the East Coast because they're a West Coast company. So that's also challenging. And so between the fact that they're just not ideal, but the reason that Fidelity is encouraging title clients to use BankServe is because they own 4 signing services, and BankServe is usually the first on the list that they recommend. So that's why you're hearing that. So a couple ways to do it. One, if you're signed up with BankServe, when you get there, you can always say, please, oh yeah, I'm on BankServe. Would love to add value because I love just kind of, and you've already hopefully had the conversation prior to like what's important to them, what's not important to them, et cetera. Or what could be improved with BankServe notaries, and speak to, because what's important to everyone is different. So you just have to find this out. So in that conversation, oh, yep, we use BankServe. Like, great. What do you love about the BankServe notaries? It's not going to be a long list. And then, hypothetically, what could be improved with some of the BankServe notaries experiences that you're having? And they'll say things I probably just said, whichever one's important to them, and like, yep, I get it. It's important to me. All my closings, I walk the signers through the Alta and cover closing costs, just like you would at a closing. And I try to be basically as close to you as I can be at the closing. And that way they're in great hands. And I don't charge $25 extra for scanbacks, just as an aside. But whatever it is that they brought up is important to them. Now you can always request me through BankServe specifically, and BankServe will have to reach out to me first and see if I'm available, because that's the biggest one they say is typically that's just inconsistent, not knowledgeable closers, is probably the biggest frustration. Costs are important, but really it's about the experience. Like, these people get the relationships, they get these realtors, it takes them a long time to get them, and when they get them, they want them to be very well served, period. The rest kind of is noise to them. Cost is important, but not as important. Never as important. That's a relationship, because, $25 extra for scans is crappy, but if I'm still getting good service, who cares? Because I have my relationship is, cemented. But if I'm getting inconsistent service and complaints at the table from my realtors and my lenders, that's important, because that could potentially cost me a lot of money in the future. So that is the biggest concern people have when they are not physically doing their own closings, like, period. Other things are important to them, yes, but I'm just telling you, if you have 10 clients and all 10 clients are getting inconsistent service by notaries that are clueless on out of office, out of state closings, they're going to leave you eventually. And that's a concern. So that's really the number one concern is for everyone to call. That's pretty much it. Like they just want to know that they can come into work the next day and they're still going to be eating because their clients are still going to be feeding them business to serve them so that they can provide for their family, whatever their role is in that. So, yeah, asked to be BankServe, chosen through BankServe specifically when you get signed up. And prior to that, just again, ask those questions I talked about to see what is important and what is not working, and then let them know how you can solve that problem either through BankServe or through me directly. Because if they're a Fidelity client or Fidelity agent and they want you specifically to be Fidelity approved as an individual agent, they can fill out an application and slap your name on it. But if they want to work with you, that's the process to do it, and they can. You got to give them a compelling reason to do that. So that's whenever you hear BankServe, just think Fidelity client because they're probably a Fidelity client. And these are things you can know ahead of time when you look at their website. They usually tell you who their major underwriters are.
Okay. I just have a couple more things.
Sure.
I proved you right because I was kind of just Googling title companies and going there, and I had this experience in Richmond where I couldn't find a bunch of these companies. I'm like wasting all this time because I don't know, I didn't do enough research. So I'm basically just confirming what you say, that I should do more research and try to find, at least people that work at these companies before I just show up there, because that was the way. So I wanted to tell you that.
Definitely their website and LinkedIn will be helpful. The website will be helpful to give you an idea of how much business they have. And then LinkedIn can confirm that, because on their website, it will tell you about how many offices they have, what states they're licensed in. But, if you go to LinkedIn and it says they have 20 employees versus 5 employees, it'll give you a better understanding of how much potential closings they could be doing a month, or how many other people in the office could be feeding you business. Because that's the beauty of being at a title company that does at least, $3 to $5 million in sales, is they're probably going to have at least 5 to 7 settlement officers, escrow officers, whatever you call it in your state, to send you business. And when you get your foot in the door with one and you're really, really good and you're in there, at least once a week, picking off documents and saying hi to other people, like there's always a need. You basically just spread like a virus. So ideally, you really want to get into, perfect world, clients that have multiple hunters of sales or settlement officers there so that you can potentially serve many of them. So in those regards, if you're in one of those offices, you only need to have like 2 or 3 direct clients with multiple settlement officers in it. Like you're good. You'll have plenty of work even in downtimes. So hopefully that helps.
Definitely. Thank you.
Yeah, my pleasure.
I'll let somebody else go if they.
Cool. Yeah, I'm waiting for someone to raise their hand. Although, to be fair, we have chatted about half the room, so there you go. Adrian, you're not muted. That tells me you want to say something.
I'm just listening. I mean, I'm really, I feel like I need to go to a desert island with all this information and start sorting it out, because it's just, you get going in the process and, all the contracts and I'm familiar with that type of thing, but it's all with all the digital and email and LinkedIn. And I mean, I've touched my toe in that with other businesses that I've been in, but really just trying to get a handle on so many things, and then realizing, you know what, just get started. But at the same time, I'm one of those people that has to have my ducks in a row, but I don't need to have a whole pond of 50 ducks. I just need like 4. So I'm just at this crossroads of really taking down I have all the information. I've got a big binder going. I'm reviewing things, but it's like even the little stuff, like, oh, a business card. Oh, getting a different telephone number. So because I don't want to use and maybe I haven't gotten to that part in the training, but like I know Google Phone for $10 a month, you can have a totally different phone line, which is exactly what I want to do. So the things I haven't heard people talk about, but I'm sure I'm almost pretty much through the whole course, and anxious to get back into the modules and the teachings there. So.
Yeah, Well, yeah, you're at the beginning of the process. It's going to be
Right.
like drinking from a fire hose. That's any business,
Yeah.
as you know. So,
Right.
but the whole point of it is the more time you stick with this and you turn things that are, unknowns to knowns,
Mm-hmm.
farther along in that journey you'll get. And it is what it is. It's just like a curve. It's like, like if this is, and I don't know if this is probably, maybe it's this way. So anyway, like this is your learning curve and you're here. And so
Mm-hmm.
like nothing is happening. You're through the LSS, you're done. And then you're signing it with signing services and you're getting some notifications on your phone and you're taking your first couple on your belt. And the problem is like right here is where most people quit.
Mm.
they've already
Yeah.
they've already made all these unknowns into knowns, and they're like, you know what? Let me go back to. And I'm just quoting Alex Ramosi because he's really one of my favorite entrepreneurs I follow online. But he's like, oh, let me go back to level one and try to beat the level one boss again. Like you already know the level one boss. You're trying to, but when
Yeah.
you get to level two and three and four, you're being forced to learn things you don't know. So like so it's a journey, and if you just stay in any industry for long enough, even if it's a terrible industry, even if it's like the newspaper industry, you stayed in it for 30 years, you'd be successful. Granted,
Right.
it's a dying industry, you don't have any tailwinds, it's all headwinds. But so yeah, it's a lot right now. But if you already had prior business experience, you know the deal. It's just digging in and really focusing on implementing everything you could possibly implement, and then find out what works, what doesn't work, and it's a process. And then
Right.
that's the point of this. A lot of this conversation is marketing. You'll try a lot of different things, and then when you find something that works, double
Mm-hmm.
down, triple down, and continue to beat that to death until it doesn't work anymore. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, I tried networking events. I tried cold emails then I tried calling people on the phone, and then it's like, well, this ain't fucking working. So I'm gonna walk into a title company and see how
Mm-hmm.
this works. And oh, this actually, is working better because I'm generating more interest. Conversations are better, even though my pitch sucked. But it is what it is. So find whatever it is. You got to try everything, and then find out what you're going to have some success with, and continue to do that and get better at that. Um, but yeah, you have a lot on your plate. But I'm impressed that you're actually here and trying to get that, because everything you're absorbing now, as you get further along, will come up and say, okay, well, you have a lot of reference points.
Every single one of these sessions on the site has been, there's just nuggets that,
Yeah,
okay, yeah, okay. I mean, even if I, just pick up one thing, it's fine. I don't have uh, issues with like I don't have an issue with like walking into an office and talking to people. I've been in sales a long time in different aspects, and I was the director of sales and marketing at 5 different senior living communities. So I had to deal with contracts, deal with people, deal with, and so I'm comfortable doing that. That's what I really enjoy. It's part of the reason I wanted to do this. I'm new to the area, and I thought this is a great way to meet people and, help guide people through a process that most of the time is pretty exciting for them. I mean, buying a home or whatever. So it's just getting all the other little tinky dada things, kind of situated. So, and
yeah,
I've met people in where I live who are, oh yeah, we're gonna need a notary. We have this business. Okay. So collecting the information from them, and that's a more one-on-one situation, which is nice because it's not me walking into their office. We're playing golf, and it's like, oh yeah, my wife and I run this company, and we'd love to have somebody like you. Oh, okay, but it's like I need to get a little bit more comfortable with what I'm saying and doing before, because you can't let these people down. I mean, I'm going to see them
yeah,
all the time, so there's a
yeah.
big onus on being, accurate, of course. But I think I can do that. So anyway,
No, I
that's
mean your background is tremendous. Most people in our group would probably kill for your background. starting starting because the knowledge piece, there is a point where once you get to, hey, I do a flawless closing, there's not much you can improve from an X's and O's standpoint. It's really just about the EQ and the people point and the conversations you're having that
mm-hmm,
just elevates the experience from, out of 1 to 10, like, oh, that was a 6 or 7 or
mm-hmm,
probably 7. Like everything went smoothly, no issue with documents. It was an efficient closing. Great. But the conversation that you're going to have with them and how you connect at a deeper level from 7 it's what takes you from a 7 to 10 at those closings. So that part, you're going to be good, but you
mm-hmm,
can't at the closings get to that level of comfortability until the document part itself is just like riding a bike, like you can do it with your eyes
Right.
closed. So
Right.
that part, I would encourage you more so to really focus on doing mock signings, studying
Yeah.
mock signings, and just doing mock signings either with someone, or what I did is I just did it at my dining room table just to no one, and pretend that I was presenting
Mhm.
documents to no one. But the same thing. It's getting that part down. So the faster you level up to getting super duper comfortable with the documents themselves,
Right.
you're that's really where you're going to start to see this boop,
Mhm.
part of your journey, because of the background you have, where a lot of folks, they have more introverted backgrounds like myself and technical backgrounds, so they get really comfortable with the documents part first, but then the part where I actually have to interact with other human beings is the scary part for them,
Right.
and that's
Right.
where they're just like, quit. So that's
All done.
yeah.
No more.
So you just have to get the technical knowledge under your belt. So yeah,
Right. And I've thought about what you just mentioned a minute ago about like finding somebody
yeah,
like to work with. Like let's, team up and just like practice this with each other, because that's really, the way to get so comfortable with it. It makes
yeah.
total sense. Total
Yeah.
sense.
Which what area are you in the
I'm in
country?
Reno, Nevada.
Okay, so yeah, I would definitely reach out to the folks in your local group as far as, hey, can I buy lunch for someone, and is anyone willing to do a mock seller signing with me? And you'll and ask and or one-off ask people on Facebook Messenger, Liz, Falcon, anyone, and then someone will eventually take you up and be like, "Yeah, I'll take your free lunch,"
Oh, okay.
and go over documents. And then many people have reached out to me to do that in the past. I've done that with people before. That helps for sure.
Mhm.
And then watching the mock signings so that you can kind of like, okay, I like the way they said this about this document or this about that document, and incorporating that into your script helps
Yeah.
too. So if
There
you can look
are,
at
I
the
mean,
stack.
I bought, yeah, I bought and sold houses and refinanced houses. So those documents look very familiar to me.
Mhm.
But there are other ones that clearly don't because I haven't done them. So
Right.
it's, yeah, getting familiar, moving through it smoothly. And I think that sometimes I get it in my brain that's really going to be much more difficult than it is, but it's really not. I mean, I've watched it being done. I've done it myself. It's like, okay. I mean, but not to say that you're not going to have signings that are difficult. Like to me, the idea of doing a signing for a property that's out of state, it's like, okay, what's that going to look like?
Different. The
And
title documents will be different, and a couple of lender documents,
mhm.
but nothing crazy. And every time you come up with something you don't know the answer to, just ask your hiring party every time, because it just shows that you want to do it right. A lot of people are too
Mhm.
scared to do that. Um, but yeah, you're good. Just keep taking it all in.
Okay, thanks.
Alina, I'm sorry. She bounced. Nope, she's coming back on. Alina, when you're reconnected, I know you had your hand up. I don't know if I answered your question or not, but if not, unmute yourself and jump on in, Alina.
I was just wondering what electronic journal that you use.
NotaryAct.com. That's the one I use.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, my pleasure. Angela put in the chat, what should someone include in their marketing basket? So that's going to vary based on, I guess, your style and preference and budget. So for me, I just put a lot of stuff from Family Dollar, Dollar Tree, whatever, in there, a mix of sweet and salty snacks. I put my business cards on the front and a flyer in the back, all in a clear gift basket wrap with a nice massive bow. Again, all from Dollar Tree or Walmart, whichever. But that's what works for me. That way I could keep costs relatively flat. It would be about 10 to 12 bucks per basket on average, most of it being just the ingredients themselves. And that way, if I go out with, 10 offices, in 2 weeks, I know I'm spending 100 to 120 bucks. So if you have a budget of a couple hundred bucks a month for advertising, you can start there, or you can lower that budget. And, if you bake really well, knock yourself out. That's going to be a cheaper cost for goodies. But again, it doesn't really matter what it is. Quite honestly, the fact that you're bringing in something versus beside your business card will help you stand out, where most people are just coming in, dropping off a business card and running away scared and not saying anything, which is kind of a waste of your time. So you want to stand out. You want to do what others won't do. So that includes bringing in something, following up on social, following up in general, like, just in general. Like, just think of anytime you tried to hire a contractor, someone to cut your lawn, someone to fix something, you make 10 calls and like 2 people call you back. Like, that's what I mean. Like, it's laughable how easy this business can be if you do what you say you do and you do it well and you follow up every week. Like, just people will be impressed at, that you're following up. Like, I have people I've been following up with for literally 3.5 years, as long as I've been in the business. And, I'll continue to do that until I'm not in the business anymore. So, but yeah, this dollar store stuff for me. Some people do pens, branded pens. I don't because a lot of, they're using a pen in office all the time, so they probably have their preference. Sometimes they use their own office's branded pens. I don't do that, but I've heard pens. You know, get creative with it. The more, you it is, the better, the more you're able to stand out. But that's what I use because I'm not that creative. Alrighty. Any other questions out there?
What did you do before this?
I was in restaurant management for 22 years.
Oh, okay.
So that's the technical part, running other people's businesses, hiring, firing, and P&L analysis and all that crap and costs. Like, really good at that. The sales, not so much. So that's just put myself on the gauntlet and just do a lot of reps. That's it. So walking in person, I can chat about the business all day long. Calling on the phone, not as confident. So I have to have typically a script in front of me, a loose script that I have that I can refer to. That way I stay kind of on point for me. But that's kind of where I'm at now. I have to be hitting my people on the phone because I just can't be driving. If you hit pretty much everybody in a 3-hour radius, like it's pointless to drive 4 hours when you can just make 20 calls or 50 calls or 100 calls. Cool. All righty. If no other questions are popping up before we sign off, I appreciate everyone being here this morning. And again, I'll message Ashley at Loan Signing System to, again, about getting these recordings since May till now in the group so you guys can reference them because there's a lot. And I'd like to see them, honestly, personally, because I always learn from other ambassadors that are on here because they all have their different specialties. Cool. All righty. Well, thank you all. Enjoy the rest of your weekend and your Saturday. It's been a pleasure, and I hope I helped somebody, or hopefully all of you, got something out of it. If so, yep, nodding heads. That's good. Thank you, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your day, and take care. Good luck on your journey.
Thank you.
See you later.